Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar is Surety Basics for Production Ag. Today we'll go through the basic tools within the Surety program. These tools are also the tools in Surety Pro. We'll look at searching, layers, navigation, and forms and maps, among other things. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for you to view on our YouTube channel. So youtube.com and then search for AgriData, and you'll find our channel there with webinars and other useful videos for you. We have no questions during the webinar today. If you have questions, please send them to me or give me a phone call after the webinar. I'll put my contact information back up after the webinar. Send them to me and I'd be happy to answer them for you. With that, let's begin the webinar. So we'll be working in the Surety Basics program today. For those who are Surety Pro and watching this to get up to speed on some of these things, we will not go into any of how to save boundaries or things of that nature. Those are upcoming webinars that you can attend for that. So first we'll start with the interface. Surety program. Over on the left, we got navigation tools, and then we got select and drawing tools. On the right, you'll see our forms and maps and our layers and search area. And of course, in the middle, we have our map window, and above it, we have some menus to access other information. And we have our GPS capable setting. So to start out, we're going to start out with navigation. That's how you get around within the mapping interface. First, we'll start out with the zoom in tool. Well, the zoom in tool allows you, as it says, to zoom in. There's several ways you can use this tool. You can hit zoom in and go into your map window and just left click, and it'll zoom in a set scale. You can keep zooming in by left clicking. Another way to zoom in is to left click and hold and draw a zoom box, and it will zoom to the largest extent of that box. Another way to zoom in is to use your mouse and your scroll wheel on your mouse, which allows you to zoom in and out if you have that set. Also on touch tablets, certain mouse pads, you can use the use your finger gestures, squeeze and expand to zoom in and out also. So you can use a scroll wheel, depending on which way you have it set, you can zoom in and out. Now the zoom out feature has one function. When you hit zoom out, it zooms out a set scale. There are no other functions associated with that tool. Pan tool. Pan tool allows you to move your map at that set scale to view features or to locate. So use the pan tool. Click on pan. It will turn yellow. Come into your map window. You see a crosshairs. Left click and hold and drag the mouse opposite the direction you want to move. So if you want to see things to the south or the bottom of your screen, left click and hold and drag your mouse to the top. That pan function also works while drawing, and we'll look at that also. So that's a pan. Zoom in, zoom out, and pan. Next, we'll move on to the full view and previous view. The full view most of you, when you log in first time, will see the full view is the country. But the full view can be set to an area of interest. So you don't have to always be set to the full country. So if you have an area of interest, first define that area of interest. Define it by the map window, scale, what have you. And then once you have defined that area of interest, we'll go up to Tools, Options, Options page, and you'll see the first one, Startup View. It's also your full view. You hit that, click that, and it will come up with a dialog box. It'll say your startup view has been set, and that's all you need to do here. And you can cancel or close out this box. Now, whenever we're zoomed out, we can hit full view. It's going to zoom to that area of interest, or if we're zoomed in, we hit full view, it'll zoom to that area of interest. And again, that's under Tools, Options, Options page. And we'll talk a little bit more on those tools, other tools within those Options page later on. Next, previous view basically is history of your views. So to do that, just click on Previous View, and it'll start going through all your previous views in order. Good tool if you find something and then all of a sudden you actually hit full view or you zoom out or things that nature, and you want to get back to a certain view that you had before. Just use the previous view, and it stores, as you see, quite a few different views. So those are our navigation tools. We do have GPS capability in the system. That's this area right here called My Location. When you click on this box, it turns on the GPS. Now, depending on your system, your GPS will work differently. Usually it'll show you a blue dot or a dot with a yellow accuracy ring, which means that it's saying that you're within that yellow circle. And then can demonstrate this today, but you can also use the follow me function, and as you move, the map will scroll to keep up with you. Again, as that's on, you can zoom in and out and pan. As you pan, it'll bounce back to that. So that's the GPS tools that are available in Surety and Surety Pro. Next, we're going to move on. We're going to move to the search tools. The search tools, located on the lower right area of the mapping interface, shares the same panel as your layers. If you click on your search button, you get your search tools. There's 5 tabs, and we'll go through each one. First is our legal, or this is searching the public land survey, for those that do have the public land survey. So when you use this tool, first thing you have to do is pick your state. So for example, we'll pick North Dakota here. Now you can zoom to the state from here if you wish. That's available. And then next, to enter your legal, we do require a section, so you need to put in a section. So let's enter one here. In your township, and then you need to put your township direction. Is it north or south? It's very important to remember that. Your range. Again, on your range, put either east or west. And then hit locate, and it will zoom to that section. Now, a few comments on that. If you have in certain states, you might have a more than one township with that designation. If that happens, it will give you the county to choose from within a drop-down list for where that township is located. So that's the legal or public land survey search. One related to that that you're aware of is the township search, and this refers to the township name. So you pick your state, you start typing your township name, and it'll give you a list. It'll give you a list. If you know it, you can just go and pick it. But it'll give you a list of township names, and of course we do require a section, and then it will locate that. I guess there isn't one like that, so well, we'll use this one here. Again, here's an example of, okay, which township, Pleasant Valley. There's two of them, one in Williams County, one in Rolette, and you would then pick which county you're interested in, and it will zoom to that township and that section. And so there you go. LatLong, we'll look at LatLong here. LatLong gives you a capability of typing in a LatLong and searching for that. Also placing a symbol where that's located. The LatLong dialog boxes within Surety and Surety Pro will take several different formats, either decimal degrees, as you see right here, decimal minutes, or decimal seconds, as you will see here in the lower left. Either way, it can be typed in and used, but you cannot mix the two. So you cannot enter latitude as decimal degrees and your longitude as decimal minutes. Also, it is correct to say longitude in North America has a negative sign. Since we only work in North America, we choose to ignore that when you type that in. So if you do not put it in, it will still recognize that as a negative longitude, but you sure can place that in there. And once you've entered your latitude longitude, you would just hit locate, and it will zoom to and center that. So if we place a symbol where that's at, you'll see where that's at. And so let's look at a different latitude longitude. Let's look at decimal degrees, decimal seconds. So we'd enter in 35, and then we want a space, and then type in the minutes and a space, and type in the seconds. You can add a decimal place there. Again, you can type in a negative, or you can leave it as it is, and we'll assume a negative longitude. We'll place a symbol and locate. And so there we have where we're located at, right there. As you can see, as I point on here, the GPS coordinate in this bottom left will show you the same. So that is latitude longitude search, and we also have, if you notice in some of these areas, we have a help link, and I'll help you out if you're having some issues with that. Next, we'll move on to the address search. The address search allows you to search by address, also search by state, city, and the actual street itself. And also within the address search, we have the county search. So if you're looking for a particular county. Again, we start out by picking the state we are interested. You can zoom to the state. Next, you can type in the city. As you start typing, it will give you other cities with those letters, a drop down for searching. And when you're done, you can zoom to that city. Next, we'll look at the street. So we can type in a street address, We can zoom to that street. Now, in this case, that street travels through several counties, and you can pick your counties, and it'll show a segment of that street. Next, you can enter your house number or location, and then you can do a full locate. So here's the farmstead we were searching for. So you can see that you can locate nearby city, you can locate streets, and you can locate a physical address. You can also zoom to a county here. So if we want to just pick a county and zoom to that county, it will zoom to the extent of that county. And those, if we do have anybody from Texas in the webinar, Texas Land Survey, they have their own land survey, where in this case you would need to select your county and then your block. And those from Texas will understand what that is if they use that, and your section to locate. Next, we'll move on and we'll talk about the individual layers before we move on to selection and drawing. So let's look at the individual layers. Layers, again, shares the same pane as the panel as the search. So you click on layers. Let's start at the top. So layers are controlled. You can turn them off, on and off, by just clicking the box next to them with a check mark. They are on. Click again, turn them off. Some of them we'll see will have blue features or a blue name and with a link. Those you can customize those individual layers, and we'll look at one when we get down here a little further. So let's start with FSA fields. FSA fields layer is our FSA boundaries from spring of 2008. They are shown with yellow lines and white acreage. You can use those to get a quick start on a form or a map. You can edit those, and we will look at that a little later on and use those. Next, we'll look at the crop history. Crop history is based on National Ag Statistics and is updated sometime in the winter. So you can see we already have 2017 in here. As you can notice, color coded. So if you see this layer with lots of different colors, you probably have the crop history layer turned on. But talk a few things about that. First of all, you got multiple dates, and we have the crop layer going back to 2008. We do have a legend, so here's a legend that you can turn on and view. You see the different crops within the view that you're at. So if we zoom in to a section and we click the legend, you'll see that it's smaller. And again, you can pick different years and view different crops. I believe, there we go. You can see it's changing. So that's the crop history. There is also a crop history form our map that we will look at a little later on. Next, we'll move down to the ortho photo. You see the background image that we have here. That is the based on the FSA ortho photos, and depending on what state you're in, you'll have different dates available. But we have quite a few dates available now that you can go back and look at. We also have a topo map layer at this point. This would be our topo map layer that we have available to view. Again, you can turn that on and off. If you're interested in what photo date this is, we do have the year, but if you're interested in the photo date, you would just turn that on, and it will give you the photo dates and show you where the seams are at between the different photos. Next, we'll move on to other. If you're in North Dakota, we do have the North Dakota sensitive areas you can turn on. Let's look at the H2O, which is where we store our water-related layers. One of which is our wetlands layer, which may be of importance to you. That layer, when we turn on, will show, when you zoom in, the different wetlands, and they'll also show you attributes and acreages. In this case, you can change coloring and labeling. This is an example. When you click on a layer that is blue in color, it'll bring up our layer properties. You can set where to turn it off and on. Note scale. Our symbology means color coding. So you have a default, but we also have our color by type in this case, where your color by, you can color by type in this case, and you can also set up the individual attributes, in this case type. So you can see we got different colors, and the default is based on I believe their coloring scheme. You can also change the labels. You can add labels, which they only have 3 in this case, or you can remove labels. And when you've changed, just hit update or save and make the changes. The wetlands, watershed just gives you your basic info on what your watershed number is. You can use this to search then for your watershed. Minnesota buffer map. Again, this is a specialty layer for those in Minnesota. As you may know, you need to be aware of buffers around waterways, streams, lakes, things of that nature. And what we do is we color code those. We give you what your buffer it needs to be based on what type of water body it is. Lake here is 50 feet. This river waterway is 60.5 feet. Next we'll move on. That's it for soil, H2O. Next we'll move on to soils. Now this soils layer displays the mapping unit symbol and the outline of the soil, or the mu symbol. We do have a soils map that you can create on individual fields. We'll look at that a little later on. And of course, we've got major roads, minor roads, counties, township names, township range sections. We also have quarter sections. So we divide, let me turn the ortho photo off here. So you see we got quarter sections, and then we got quarter sections. Now these aren't officially surveyed lines. We have just divided up, but to help you with location searching or marking. Last one we'll talk about is the hail, which is available to everyone and free to use. And this one, hail layer, gives you hail probability, and you can pick dates, and we go back quite a ways. So if you look at get one here, I know for sure. A little faster here. Oops, went past it here. July 4th, 2017, for example. Here is hail, and here's our hail probability. So you can zoom into an area and see that. You can also create a hail report from here, and it'll show that area with whatever you have on the screen and with the hail indications or hail probability. Again, that's under the legend on hail report. And we record the hail from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. So at midnight to midnight. is the range. So that it's all that would be any time within that 24-hour period. Next, we're going to move on to the selection tool. The selection tool allows you, in case of surety, allows you to select, for example, in this case, we'll look at the FSA boundaries. Surety Pro allows you also to select your existing borders and work with them. Or it allows you also, it's used to select other features within the system. But today we're going to look at using it to select FSA boundaries, for example, for use for editing or for creating maps and forms. So when you hit the select button, you go in there and select a polygon. It'll create a red X. That means this polygon and its extent has been selected. If you want to see what that is, you can just come over here and hit the FSA map, and it will do an outline of that in yellow with the acreages. You can select multiple features by holding your shift key down, selecting. I guess you don't have to hold the shift key down, you can just click and you can add other polygons. Now they will stay separate and unique, give unique acreages, and later I'll show you I can maybe merge some of these. Or you can also left click and hold and drag and select all within your selection box. Now to delete or remove X's, you can either click the garbage can under select and it will remove, or you can remove all X's over here on the right under your maps and forms. I'm going to zoom to an area here as we look at some other tools. Okay, one of the tools that works really well is our Smart Select tool, which you'll find you'll use quite a bit. It's located under Drawing Tools. So you'll pick your drawing tool, and if you notice as you go about halfway down, you see Smart Select. You click Smart Select. Also, mind to have your help on and off selected, because as you noticed, as I selected that tool over on the right side, we give you some help instructions and some other information based on that tool. So Smart Select. So the first thing we'll look is the ability to select a feature on the FSA map. And we'll look at editing, which is the same editing that would be also used when you draw. So let's take Smart Select. Let's select an area here. We're going to look at this quarter section. And you just notice as I selected it, it goes into editing mode. See blue, the fill the polygon with these red dots. Now these red dots represent a node or a vertice of where a line segment has changes, and you can edit these red dots in this view. So as you notice, maybe we could do some work on this boundary here. It's an older boundary and things have changed on the map. So we'll look at how we can do some of that. First, we're going to show you how to move a vertice. So let's zoom in down here. We're going to remove this 0.22 acres. So to move a vertice, what you would do is put your mouse over the vertice or node, left click and hold. As you left click and hold, whoops, I apologize, this is where the previous view works really well. Okay, I'm going to left click and hold, and now you can drag that vertice wherever you need to drag it. I'm just going to put it down here and select this one and draw it down here. Now we have updated that boundary. Let's look at it on the FSA map. You will see this is where it used to go, and now this is where it goes now. And acreage has been updated. You'll notice the acreage can change over here. Another thing to do is you can add a vertice or node. You do that by right-clicking. Now you can add it right on the line itself, and then left-click, hold, and move it. Or you can create it somewhere on the map, and you can then move it. So you can add by right-clicking. So one last thing is delete. We have a unique way of deleting nodes within the system here. You can easily delete nodes by selecting a node that you wish to move or remove, left click, hold, and then as you move over other nodes, they magically absorb into that node. As you can see, I'm starting to delete nodes as I move from node to node. So that's the how you will delete a node within the Surety program. And when you're done, let go. We'll look at our FSA map, show that we've removed this piece. Now our yellow line is here and our acres have been updated. We'll look a little bit at those two when we do some drawing, show how those work. So let's look up here. We got this inclusion, works the same way, and we're going to adjust it because you can see things have changed since the boundary. So we're going to come in and we're going to move these vertices or nodes to match the program or the boundary a little bit better. We can delete. We can add by right-clicking. So, and then when we're finished, we'll take a look. See, we've adjusted and our acres have changed accordingly. So that's the edit tools and the Smart Select tool. In Surety Pro, when you're drawing boundaries to save or you want to edit a boundary, you're going to be using that also. So there's a few other nice little tools that we have to use if you're using these FSA boundaries or another custom boundary that you would like to use, boundary set. And it is under drawing, and it is the merge fields and split field. So you may come in this sample. Now it's not farmed that way, it's farmed as a full field, and you want to merge these together. So if we went right now and we said, well, this is a full field, when we select all these, what would happen is they would all show up as separate boundaries with acreage. You'd have to add them manually. So what you can do is using the Merge Fields tool. As you can see, we'll have instructions over here. You can combine those to one boundary, combine the acreage. So to do that, first we'll just come in here and start left clicking and selecting the individual fields we want to merge. Make sure I have that selected. Now it says these fields must be touching or overlapping, and that's in order to merge them into a single boundary. So once that's done, you'll hit the Merge Selected tool located over on your right, and it'll merge them into one. If we look at the FSA map, you see now we have one full boundary with the acreages. Also, I want to show what happens when you select a feature that is not connected or shares a common boundary with another feature that you've selected. In this case, I've selected also this 10.23 acres. So this might represent the full field acreages, but when we do the FSA map, oops, I'm sorry, let me do the merge selected here, and we do the FSA map, you'll see these two acreages separate. But if you create a form, such as a chemical form, we do merge those two together. We show the acreages separate, but the mapped acres are merged within the form to do the calculations. Next, we'll look at splitting a field. So let's pan down to this quarter section. We see that now it's probably farmed as two separate fields, and we want to split, and we want to work with just this area here. And so we give you a capability of splitting a field. Again, under drawing, click split field. So you'll see the instructions here. So now we have to left click first to select the boundary we're going to split, and then we're going to have to draw a line through the polygon that we selected to split. And our split line must start and end outside the selected field. So again, first thing we do is select the polygon we want to split, and now our split line must start and end. So to start, you left click outside, and now you draw through, and up on the outside, double click to close this line or end this line, and now we split. So we have the yellow area is 97.68 acres, the red area is 49.56. So if you want to make this an even 98, you could, and you just hit apply. It will adjust the boundary to meet those acreages, and we'll select and work with that one. So when you come out, you'll see both are here. If we did the FSA map now, you see both with the acreages. Now, so if you want to eliminate this boundary, you do not want it showing up, just click, left click, and you'll see here we have a delete selected. It deletes selected, that one is removed. Now you could edit this one here, but you'll notice that this is the boundary you focus on, and if you went to a form, it will only be that acres, that mapped acres. So that's the merge and split fields. Next we'll go on and go through drawing and show you of how you can draw within the program. So let's just go over here. Let's turn off the FSA fields. So this is the quarter section we're going to draw on. You can also, this is why reason we give the FSA photos. If you find a clear image to draw on, go ahead and choose a different FSA photo. So sometimes the FSA photo may be too dark or not showing enough contrast to draw, and so that's why we give you options on these FSA photos to go back in history and maybe get an image with a little more contrast for what you want to do. Let's go to drawing. So again, make sure your help's on and off. So we hit the draw field, it gives you our instructions here. And if you notice on each one of these, we do have a drawing help page. For example, here we had the merge help page, split help page, smart select help page. You click that, it will open up another tab or window with those help pages. So to begin with draw field, you would just start new field here by left clicking. Well, one thing you do is if your screen is a little smaller or it's hard to see, now you could use the zoom in tool and get as close as possible of the whole field. But to take advantage of some of the resolution, the high resolution of the image, we can also give you the capability as pan as you're drawing, which is a nice feature. So what we're going to do is zoom a little closer. As you can see the edge of the field a little better. So what we're going to do now is begin drawing, and left click to start. So you put down your starting point, left click. So we got our starting point, and now we start clicking along the boundary, putting nodes, vertices when we need a line change, and we continue around the boundary. Okay, now I've gotten to the edge. I can't draw any further. So what you want to do is move your mouse away from the last node you have drawn. Now you're going to left click and hold, and now you can move the map. And then you can just continue on. Now if you accidentally come here and you do a left click, you go, oh, I meant to move. You can use a right click to delete the last vertice. So if we do a right click, you see we deleted the last vertice or node. You can also continue doing that and keep deleting nodes using the right click button. So you can back up if you need to. But we're going to continue on. Pan here. And you can also zoom in and out using your scroll key. So if you want to zoom out, once you get past some areas you can. And so we're going to quickly move through this field here. You notice those red lines, those are the minor roads. If you do not want those there, you could turn those off under layers, minor roads, to avoid confusion between your drawing outline. And we'll get to the end here. Now there's two ways to close this polygon. One, you can click over the first point that you created, your starting point, and it should snap it together. Or you can just double click on your last line and it'll close it up. So we've closed it. You can now do some editing if you need to. So you can move a node, add a node, so on and so forth. So you can do that at this point. Now, one thing that we find is that within fields there may be an area that we want to exclude, and we can do those exclusions very easily. So let's zoom in. You'll see that the blue is covering. It's a little hard to see, but once we start drawing, you'll see that they'll disappear and give you a clear picture. So we're still in drawing mode. If we want to start drawing out this or exclude this, we just start drawing. So again, create your first point. As you notice, it clears up, and then continue. So as you draw this, you'll see your length of your line segment, and you'll see your total length of your boundary. So if that is needed, you can see that information. Again, we get through this, and a double click, and we close it, and it gives us the acres of our what we currently were drawing, which is minus 3.26 acres, which means it's going to be pulled out of this larger polygon, and it has, and now you see your new acreages. Another thing you can do is you can adjust your acreages. Let me pan up here a little bit. You can adjust your acreages to get more exact. So if you think this should be 155, type in 155, hit adjust. It will see that it kind of expands the boundary a little bit to meet that acreages. So now we're done. As you can check out your work by clicking the FSA map, and hopefully it'll load for us here. There it is. And so there's your new boundary with your acreages. Of course, in Surety Pro now, you could go ahead and have the capability of saving that boundary to the system for later access. Surety, you would then use this then to create the maps and forms that you need. So that's the drawing features. Next we'll move on to the maps and forms, and we'll look at individual maps and forms within the system. First map form we'll look at here, we'll just select this boundary here. We'll look at crop history. Remember, we had a crop history layer. Now we have a crop history map also, and it'll give you specifics on that individual boundary selected. So once you have a selection, you would hit crop history. This is the 4-year crop history. It'll give you the current year starting, and then the last 4 years, in this case 2017, 16, 15, 14, and give you the different crops with legends. You can go and change this. So if you say I want 2016 on back, it'll just change that, tab out, and you'll change the dates and go back. So it gives you the previous 4 dates based on what you select. And we'll go over some of these tools here a little bit later on. Next we'll look at, we saw the FSA map, of course, and you see when you turn that on, it gives you your yellow boundary with your acreages, and you notice now it's zoomed out. So it's based on your zoom or what you see based on this extents window. So if you want to be a little closer, you can zoom in this way, get the section view, or use your zoom box to get closer. And so when you click the FSA map, you have a closer view. So you can adjust that way. You notice the white lines from the FSA. Earlier we were editing, and you saw the white lines from the other FSA boundaries. What you can do is after you select it, you can come over and turn the FSA fields off. Now, oh, sorry, I got to remark it. Sorry. Let's remove that. Okay. I'm sorry, use this. If you want to remove the, let's look at that again. If you want, you see the white lines from the other FSA boundaries that are not selected. If you want to remove those lines, we'll use the Smart Select tool. Come to Smart Select. Select that boundary. Turn off the other FSA fields, and now do the FSA map. And it will just show you a boundary of that field with the acreages. If you want to remove some of these other information, you would just turn those layers off, associated layers for those labels or features. You can also change the name of this before saving or printing up here. Give it a different title. Next we'll look at the hail history map. Hail history map, a little bit different than the hail report. The hail report takes into account the whole map for that given day. The hail history will give you a history of hail probability for a field based on the year. So if I select 2017, it's going to give the dates and the probability for this area in yellow. Next, overview map. Overview map will give you an overview. It will turn the ortho photo off and give you the streets in the area. Again, it's kind of used as you said, an overview of where you're located. The next is the soil map. Soil map, as you notice, we have the soil layers, which just gave you the features and the mu symbol. This soil map form or map will give you based on information based on the field. So the field selected minus anything outside of it, and then it'll give your soil descriptions, attributes for that given selected feature. If I decided, let's clear this out here. Bring up the FSA fields again. So for example, if I wanted to select this whole section here, I could just select acres, cropped acres, for example. If I think I selected it twice there. But anyway, you could just select those acres and then do a soil map, and it would give you the soils for just those selected features. I missed one. I have one selected over here yet. So, and then we have the latest version. You can go back and different dates for different attributes. Now, to change the soil attributes, that's under Tools, Options. You can change the soil report options and many features to choose from. When you've made a change, hit Save. You can also change the color options. So you pick which attribute it's colored by, and you can do some minimum changes to the colors within the soil properties. Also, you can create a topography map. For any given field selected or drawn. This is based off of the topography map that we have available. Just to give you a word of let you know, come down the line, we will be adding a new topography layer sometime here in 2018 with actual contours and very nice topography layer that's going to, we think, be a lot more useful than the current one we have. So look for that down the line here sometime in 2018. Let's see. Next, we have the wetland map. I don't know if we have any wetlands here. I don't think so. Nope. But that is will give you a for the field or areas you've chosen. It will give you a report on those wetlands in that area. So I get to an area where there's possibly some wetlands here. We'll select this quarter here. And there you go. It'll give you all wetlands within your boundary and the acreages. Let's see. Now let's look at the forms, the individual forms. Now we have several forms. You can turn your forms on or off in the favorites by just clicking them on or off here and then hitting Save. But Production Ag will look at some of these aerial applicators. You'll be using mostly these two forms, and we'll go over those in depth in our aerial applicators webinar. We also have chemical, fertilizer, manure, seed. We got several others that you may be interested in under the favorites. And of course, you can create your own custom forms through our custom form service. Well, let's look at the chemical form. So once you have a field or an area of interest drawn out, you hit the chemical form. This is our basic chemical form. It'll fill in the company information, which is under your profile. Give you the date ordered. You can change that. We have other information. You can, in Surety Pro, you can create your owner operator list. This is also in Surety, you can create your owner operator list. How you do that is you bring up this database, the little pencil. If you notice the little pencil beside it, this brings up a little database. You can add a new client or record. We only require the last business name to create a record, so you can just fill in the information you need. You can edit an existing record. You can delete a record. And you can search if you have many records. So you can update that. For Surety Pro users, this coincides with your client list. And it'll fill in any information that you that you have filled in, such as address, phone number. You can give a field ID in Surety Pro. It'll list a field ID based on if you have a field ID attribute associated with that saved field. And you do have your crops. This is another one that you can create your different crops. We do not have a set crop list. We're looking into that. But then you can go in and create your own crop list. You create a default also. That means that that's the one that's always filled in. These are your mapped acres. you can go in and change to your actual acres if you want. You say, well, let's just do 615. You can change that. Those will be used in the calculations down here. Actual acres will override your map acres, and some other information that you maybe want to fill in. Now you can enter your products. You can enter your pest. You can create a pest list. You can have a products list, product, and then information based on that. So you can see that you can create your products database. In Surety Pro, in a few weeks, you'll have the crop protection database, where you can actually go into an official crop protection database and pick out your individual chemicals that you use. You'll be able to access MSDS and label. We'll go over those things, and we'll do an overview of those in Surety Pro webinars. Fortunately, that crop protection database will be only available to Surety Pro users. So as you pick your information, you could put in a rate, you can pick your units, in this case of ounces. It'll do your calculations for you, and this I'm using Chrome here, so we got a little issue here. If you're using Chrome in the form, you're seeing things like this, you want those changes, let us know. We can help you out on that. And then you can fill in information for you. And now in Surety, as you fill in the information, all you can do then is you can email the PDF, you can view the PDF, or save the PDF, or print. Surety Pro, you'll be able to save this into the system and bring it back and edit it at any time. So that's one major difference between the two. But you'd fill out your information, and you can then save it as a PDF, view it, so on and so forth. If you are not seeing this information over on the right on your forms, we'll go through that right now. So under Tools, Options page, you'll see under Printing Options, you see two selections. You can build maps to PDF or print maps from a web page. Well, if you build maps to PDF, let's take a look at that. I save that. Now if I do the chemical form, you notice, oh, I guess I have to refresh the system. I think I'm not going to do that. What would happen is this information that you see, it will build it directly to a PDF, and you will not see everything here on the right. It'll create a PDF that you can print or save, what have you. So if you're seeing that and none of those other options, make sure you click Print Maps from a web page. It doesn't really save you many steps, except that when you do this and you create your form, you'll see these options over here, or your map, and you can do things with them. And one important thing may be your map options. Your map options allow you to change on your form and maps your color of your associated polygon. You can change text size, text color, border outline. You can also turn off the acres if you do not want to have them on, so on and so forth. So, and then you could save it to PDF, view PDF directly from here then. So I recommend, if you do not have this selected, that you change it to Print Maps from a web page. And while we're here, let's go over a few other options here before we go back to the forms. You can set your latitude longitude display differently. You see down here on the lower left, you can change that here to reflect decimal degrees. And then I recommend having this turned on. If it isn't, you'll maintain your select drawn fields when zooming and panning. If you don't have that on when you zoom, whatever you selected will go away, or your drawing will go away. So I would keep that on. And then when you've made a change, except for the startup view, you can hit save and they'll change. So as you notice, our latitude, longitudes, and decimal degrees now. Now back to the form. As you notice, we filled in information. We put product, put a rate. It'll come up with what you need. Here you can pick different products. So as you build that products list, you'll see that. You can also enter applicator list, date of application, start time, end time, and some weather information. Now I'll talk a few things that will be coming up soon. We're looking at updating some of the chemical forms. One is we'll have a chemical, we'll add load calculations within the form itself. I have a sample of that now, but you'll be able to calculate what you need and then how many different loads you need, kind of like what we do in the aerial application with GPA form. And then also we will be coming out with a dicamba specific form, and it will have all the information that you need based on the federal label requirements that you need to record. And so that will be coming out soon also, just to let you know. We do have another form. Let's look at another one that maybe used fertilizer. Here's a fertilizer form. You put your fertilizer and total applied. You can calculate what you've done. Now we've had a lot of people do some custom work on fertilizer forms, and we're looking at maybe adding a few different fertilizer forms to do different things here in the near future. But if you need a fertilizer application form that's different than this, you can sure let us know or request a individual form to be created for you. And we'll talk about that here a little bit, how you can do that. In the system, you can also create your own sensitive areas. Now, we do not have the Field Watch system accessible in Surety. That's a Surety Pro feature, but you can create your sensitive areas. And so what you would do is just select or draw a feature. For example, I selected this here, and then we go sensitive area, and you allow it to create a sensitive layer. You can add information. You can save that. Now, if you come back to our layers here, you see we have our sensitive layers area here, and it'll show up here. And you can change symbology. So B's could be red, other things could be other colors. You can also give different labels. So you can create your own sensitive layer if you need to. We looked at the tools, the options page, and as we wrap things up here quickly, we'll just talk about support. You notice quite a few areas where you can click on help within the program to get help. Also under help, there's some other resources, one which is support. It takes us to what we call our wiki pages or our docs. You can search. So for example, drawing, we'll search that out. And what it's going to do is give us some options. You also notice on this front page we have some links to other areas for help. So when it's done searching, it's going to give you some options: drawing, description, and how to video. Draw a field tool. So you can see quite a few things. As you click on that, it'll take you to a new area. We got individual help on individual drawing tools, for example, here. There'll be a video to help you walk through things. So taking advantage of that. Again, that's located under help, support, or on our main page, our main web page. You can also see support, Agri docs, and then click on this. It'll take you to the same place. Again, we also have other support, also tutorial videos here. And then again, as we wrap things up, we'll have our YouTube channel. Now, as far as custom form request, for those that are the admin or the admin for an account, you have the capability to do a form request. And this is to create a custom form. It'll fill in your information. You can give descriptions. You can attach files for examples. But what it does when you save this is also give us the information that we need to give you a call back and start the process of creating that custom form for you. Or you can just give us a call also, and we can help you through that process. That's to create a custom form or change some of these forms to match more what your need for your operation. With that, that'll be the end of this webinar. Again, this has been recorded. You'll be able to see this webinar on our YouTube channel, or if you would like some other information, please contact me. I'd be happy to help you out. If you have any questions, also contact me or give us a call here at AgriData, and we'd be happy to help you out. With that, I wish you a good rest of your day, and thank you for attending.